Good morning, esteemed colleagues. You're kindly requested to take your seats. Let us start our conference on aquaculture at the Unified Economic Space, and I would like to give a floor to Mr. Ilya Shostakov, the head of the Russian Fishery Agency. Yes, it's okay now. Good morning, dear colleagues. Well, there are some technical hiccups on day 2. Anyway, I'm happy to welcome you. Traditionally, we have one of the most important areas of the development of fishery industry, this being aquaculture. FAO estimates that the total sea fruits is 200,000 plus. The aquaculture output is 122.2 million tons. And this is a huge figure, and it is not clear what is more important niche, whether aquaculture or fishing. Of course, fishing, it accounts for the livelihood on the coastal areas. I would like to note that in Russia, there is a production growth of aquaculture, taking into account the global trend, and we hope that this year we will exceed the volume of 400,000 tons. If we compare it with capture fishing, it's not that big, but we are working hard to ensure the growth of aquaculture output, and I hope today we will discuss the issues, and we will listen to your proposals to farm more fish and products. We became engaged in vigorous farmings after 2014, and the growth rates makes it possible for us to say that we will meet the targets of the strategy of the development of aquaculture. The target is 600,000 tons by 2030. And then we will see what we can possibly do in the future. Due to the climate in Russia, we do not have that many possibilities for more dynamic development, but still, I think it is fair to say that we can do the farming of bioproducts, and there is an advent of major agricultural holding that were doing the cattle farming, but now they started their business in aquaculture industry. So I would like to welcome you all. I do not want to take up your time with introductory remarks because we have many important things to discuss, but in conclusion, I would like to emphasize that international exchange of opinions is very important. There are representatives of the countries that have more efficient aquaculture, and we had a discussion with the dignitary from Oman, and they are dynamically developing aquaculture. We should deal with the issues of supplying feed for aquaculture, and state support measures are needed for that. And today we will discuss all those issues in a friendly atmosphere. I wish you success, and I am on my way to talk with my international colleagues. Thank you. All the best to you. Thank you. It's not for the first year that we have a dedicated session on aquaculture, and with every passing year we have more stands at the exhibition dedicated to aquaculture, and it is understandable why. The total output of aquaculture is huge, and it is quite impressive. And that kind of aquaculture growth is important for the politicians and for the businessmen. Over a short historical period of time, 3-5 years and 9 years in Russia since 2014. But throughout this period of time, many countries come to understanding on the necessity, advisability of developing aquaculture. And the regulations have been developed in these countries, and there is disparity. There are different laws covering aquaculture even in the neighboring countries. We have colleagues present in the hall who have long traditions and of legislature development, and we have extensive, intensive, semi-industrial technologies. That's what the future belongs to, and it is that kind of technology that account for the growth. The international experience and experience of this country indicate that when we develop aquaculture, we should not make it detrimental for the environment and for the safety of the food chains. Those are the challenges that we face when developing aquaculture. Another interesting thing, over the past 5-10 years, we have changed the mindset with respect to the aquaculture. Initially, we had a commitment to globalization, to WTO standards. We switched over to protection of the national markets. There are duties and fees that have been introduced. There are new barriers on the paths of the food products, and this affected the approaches towards the development of aquaculture. That's what has happened, and that's affected many countries. And one of the fads was ESG market. It was stated that the sustainable attitudes in agriculture and aquaculture is very important, and the market of volume of 1 trillion USD related to the ESG started to diminish, and it was declared that it is not important anymore, but it is a toxic approach, and that's the market reversed. But in Russia, the things are slightly different. We believe that there are eternal things that unified businesses, and they lead to intensity of the market, and exchange of opinion is important for the development of the market. That's why the subject matter of today's conference is aquaculture development within common economic space. And it relates, first of all, to the countries that are member states of the Eurasian economic communities. But of course, we are interested in cooperation with the countries that are further away from this country. I would like to give floor to Mr. Armen Arutyunyan. He is from the EAC. And what are the prospects of the development of aquaculture in the Eurasian economic communities? Thank you, Alexei. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm happy to meet at this forum every year, and for us to discuss the prospects of the development of the industry and the challenges that this sector faces. I would like to present the prospects of the development of the aquaculture at the Eurasian Economic Community. I have prepared my PowerPoint presentation. Will you please upload it? Yes, I can see it now. And I have a request. Since we have many speakers, so the time limit for the speakers is some 5-7 minutes. Okay, next slide shows the statistics of the production of aquaculture, which is developing quite intensively. Since 2017 to 2020, the growth is by a factor of 2. And if we switch to another slide, it has the country breakdown. Of course, Russia is a leader, but if you look at the other countries, the Armenia has a growth rate of 1.5, Belarus 1.5, the Kazakhstan and the Kyrgyzstan have demonstrated the growth. So these countries do pay attention to the development of aquaculture. There are a number of the state-run projects to provide incentives for the development of the farming of the aquaculture, but we should focus on the culture of consumption of bioproducts, because it is the healthy way of life, and it also provides incentives for the developed local production. So it is quite important. Next slide describes the three objectives and goals that the EAC has. One is food security, and our union, our community has 93% of self-reliance on food. But when we look into the infrastructure, meaning what we need, what kind of technologies and feedstock, raw materials we need to ensure the 93%, of course, we face some challenges. So aquaculture needs seeding, impregnated row, and having some technology, and it refers to the other niches. It is the seeds, genetics, selections as far as husbandry is concerned, and this particular platform is the area will switch over from food security to addressing the issues that we face related to technological processes and infrastructure. So it does not only refer to economy, but to the security on the whole. Another thing is in having more trade. The union, the community is needed to remove the barriers in trade, and that's why we need to harmonize regulations and applicable laws to remove the administrative barriers. Together with the Federal Fishery Agency from the Russian Federation and from the other 4 countries of the European Asian economic communities, we address these issues. As Ilya mentioned, we have panels that are interested in deepening the relations with Russia, and we do have the strategic task of widening the trade and have more export from our countries. So there are a number of programs that are being discussed in the EAC. First, it relates to education. We are sure that without education, without human resources, the technological development of this sector will be only too slow. That's why we have developed the academic mobility programs. The pilot program was implemented in the wine producing industry. Another issue is the development of the processes and development of the infrastructure and materials, and that's why we will be implementing the programs in in the aquaculture. I will not go into all the developments, but I would like to talk about the cooperation projects. It's a new area. It was approved within the economic community, and the purpose of the cooperation projects is as follows. If two or more countries of the community are interested in certain sectors, whether it is feed production or other things, together with the other stakeholders like Eurasian banks or other members of the financial community, will provide benefits in providing loans. Because it is important for us, because if there is a cooperation between the countries, it is important for us to provide financial incentives for cooperations. And we will continue along the lines. We are pleased with the cooperation with the fishery agency, and I would like to thank the federal agency for their support. So we will be proactive in improving, enhancing the food security and developing other projects. Short question. When there will be fish available everywhere. Wine is, there's a great trade in wine. When we will have fish? First quarter 2024, we will launch the first common projects in aquaculture. Okay, I applaud this. So it's not only about removing the barriers, and it's not only good, but there are certain risks and the challenges, and some challenges are related to veterinary control. And Mr. Aushev, he is from Rosprirodnadzor. The floor is yours. I would like to inform all our manufacturers and exporters that the other day, the China customs and a regulator and the Russian counterparts has signed an agreement related to the quarantine of wild fish exported from Russia to China. It is an important happening, and thanks to this document, the supplies of all the fish and marine products will be exported to China. We doubt the provisions made in the catalog, in the register. The catalog will be amended, and it will make it possible to export all the biomarine products to China. China is number one producer of water bioresources, 68 million tons. So that's how much they produce. And we, together with capture fishing, account only 5 million tons. No, it's capture fishing only that accounts for 5 million tons. Okay, we produce 400,000 tons of aquaculture products with the target of 600,000, and we will be happy to increase. So we need to produce it safely, supporting all the technological processes. We understand how high the concentration is to increase the produce. Last year I mentioned it, but I would like to repeat that infectious diseases pose risks. Primarily it refers to viral diseases, which number 300,000, and the situation in the world is quite acute. That's why we should monitor the processes and control the entry of the seedings into Russia, and monitor the import from the countries which are not that good in terms of virus. Talking about the feed fodder, we should develop the feed infrastructure like China or Iran. One of our colleagues shared the experience. Iran was under sanctions and they started developing the production of their own feed. That's what we are doing. They have been referring about the production of the equipment for producing feed. That's an interesting notion as well. A few words on import. All the imported products are produced or farmed by aquaculture. We control it and we deal with the producers. Sometimes we limit the import, and our experience shows that unfortunately, the issues of safety are not controlled that well. I'm talking about the operation of the regulators in the economic community as well.
More attention needs to be paid to laboratory research, prevention of fish diseases. There has to be a stricter control for the manufacturers, and they had to comply with quality standards. In order to do this, we require full-fledged financing of the monitoring programs. Without this, it's impossible to guarantee the quality and the safety of the products that are delivered to export. Yesterday, Dmitry said that the import of sea resources will be cut down by 1/4. It's an opportunity for our local manufacturers. We've also been talking about the need for deeper processing and preservatives production. I agree 100%, but let me focus your attention on the following thing. Unless we fight counterfeit products, and unless we stop cheating our consumers, replacing the names when instead of more expensive types of fishes, we use cheaper ones and then put a different title on top, it will be uneasy. It will be not that simple for good faith manufacturers to grow. We have ways of finding out counterfeit products. We have the Mercury system, which is a certification system that allows us to track fraudulent transactions. But when it comes to bringing to justice the not in good faith players, they are limited. And there's another topic that I would like to touch upon very briefly that has something to do with the quality of the water resources. I need a minute, so thank you. Controlling pesticides and agrochemicals. We know that these chemicals, if they're not used right, can get into the water, they can impact the environment, and they can harm the sea farmers, and they can also harm the agricultural industries. That has to be controlled. And when it comes to legislation, there is one available in this sphere. Everything is being regulated, but currently we just need more execution practices and performance practices. And of course, in the end, digitalization needs to go forward. In aquaculture as well, and this is something that we are doing at the moment. According to the Russian legislation, identifying fish and other aquaculture facilities needs to be done no later than March 2026. For that, we have all the necessary features. Rossельхознадзor runs a software called Harriot. Without waiting for this time frame, we can already start inputting the data, and you can already start using the traceability system used on real data. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much. Yes, this is actually, the things that you're talking about are extremely important. The traceability of data, identifying from source to shelf. Let me ask you a question. Any recommendations you can give? Because we have plenty of representatives in here of foreign delegations. We have Mauritania, Senegal. Any recommendations that you can give to them? What do they need to pay their attention to? Maybe? Maybe. They can also be given access to this platform. And maybe we can already start ensuring safety at the source. That's a very good thing. Colleagues, actually, I was already referring to you when I said that we must control our manufacturing and our export in a better way. And I'm not just meaning Russia here, but I mean all other countries in the economic zone. We need to make our monitoring more stringent, and the requirements have to be similar. You see, some countries have softer requirements. Ours are more stringent. We are an importer country, noblesse oblige, as they say, and we need to make sure that we're in line with our own standards. Now, when it comes to digitalization and IT aspect, all countries that we trade in, we offer them to integrate with our software systems. Initially, it helps us to ease import-export relations, just sending notifications, but then we can exchange electronic veterinary certificates that follow all the products. It all comes into one single system. We have the special gateways to connect, and we're ready to work with different countries along those lines. Thank you. Thank you very much, and I'm sure that all our foreign partners and business representatives, they need to mark the opportunities that are available because of the digital development. And let me invite here to the stage as a representative of business and as a person who does digitalization, Vladimir Rumensev. He's the CRT Development Director. Please, the floor is now yours, Mr. Rumensev. Can you hear me well? I need my presentation on the screen, please. We create an ecosystem of industry-specific platforms for aquaculture in partnership with Rosrybolovstvo, the Russian fishing agency, and you might have heard about this project of ours. Clearly, an ecosystem of this kind cannot be established overnight. Time is of essence. Why? Because different business processes have to be connected to each other. There have to be regulations, regulatory norms, and rules, and they all have to be streamlined. So this project will take some time, and it will take still 2 more years. And after these 2 years, we will come to a logical conclusion, and soon we'll be able to trace down all value chains. Because of that, our industry players will cut down on their transactional costs, and they will focus on what they know how to do best, growing fish, instead of doing bureaucracy stuff and red tape. Can I get the next slide, please? Rosrybolovstvo, when he spoke out to the audience in his welcoming words, said that aquaculture in the world has already exceeded. I still need a slide back, one slide back. Thank you. What you see in yellow, this is food-grade fish, industrial scale production, and blue is aquaculture. So what I can say that the industrial fishing has been already exceeded by aquaculture, by farming. And the availability of such bioresources in the world is there. Considering that there's a certain balance we need to keep in the world ocean, we can't really fish out more, so it has to be stable. Otherwise, there will be a decline. And when it comes to getting a bigger supply of fish, it can only come from aqua farming, aquaculture. There's only this way of putting more fish on the market. When it comes to the Russian part of that play, we're not as significant as the rest of the world, but still there's something I would like to focus your attention to. What you can see here are only the valuable species, such as trout, salmon, etc. 1% of the industry is represented by micro businesses, small enterprises, really small. But those countries that demonstrate a huge growth of their aquaculture, of their farmed fish, well, those countries, what they do is they reduce the amount of labor required for fish growing, and they reduce the amount of red tape for small and medium enterprises. Because large companies, they can have their labs, they can have their scientific departments, and they can have a whole array of great experts out there. The micro farms, they don't have enough resources to run the shop. If we are to reduce the bureaucracy for this segment, what we will get are great experts in the industry, and we will get a bigger assortment of products offered in the market. And it will also allow us to increase the diversity of research-heavy companies. You know, there's some universities out there that are becoming centers of excellence or centers of competences, and they're getting their grants from our Ministry of Education. Soon we hope they will also get additional funding from the ministries, and it will help us to grow professional science. Why is that needed? To help the market boost, but it has to be done not in closed labs or white bleached walls of scientific centers. It has to be done in the field. And companies need to be able to run experiments. They need to procure equipment. They need to establish different. They need to research various ideas regarding feed, and etc. etc. Profitable value chains based on geography. We have already heard a number of times that when it comes to climatic uniformity, we are not on top of other countries, and there's plenty of nuances we have to consider. Considering because of our wide geography, every specific region has its own regulation. Otherwise, the value chains will not be that valuable. And I believe that the small and medium enterprises need to be unburdened of various regulatory issues. All other markets have gone through the same, so they had previous experience of this. Let me talk about taxi. As soon as an ecosystem appeared, the market started showing real growth rates. New modernization phase appears, and it ups the ante. The whole industry moves to become a completely different area. This is how an ecosystem needs to grow. We need to have a digital twin of a company in the very middle of it, and the very core. Now, you can start using our software, which is called MES, if you're an aquaculture firm. And there are plenty of things that will help you to streamline your existing business processes. Now, to the left, there must be a marketplace for supplies, meaning feed and fodder supplies, equipment supplies. This is something that we will be launching next year already. And by the end of next year, there's going to be also a sales marketplace. You'll be able to sell your product to HoReCa, to regulated purchasing and governmental purchasing, and even some paid fishing opportunities will be available for you. Our system will also allow you to automate your reporting procedures, and there's going to be also support measures available, so that without any red tape or bureaucracy, one single shop system, you can do whatever you need, and then you just focus on your own business processes and you do what you do best. You grow good quality fish. This is something that I'm not going to decipher for you. It's just the previous one in a more detailed way. How many modules we need to deploy, in which sequence, this is not something to burden you with. And now let me talk about the most interesting stuff, support measures. As for support measures, the government tries to produce new formats and new approaches to helping you out. You as farmers, I mean. Today, subsidizing your loan rates for your various business processes, for example, buying fodder or feed, it can become more automated in a system like ours. And then you as a farmer, you don't really need a lot of working capital, and this working capital could be freezed out to expand, to invest into capexes, into new capacities. Because what we can do as a state, we can subsidize not just the interest rate, but we can even simplify loan-taking procedure when you're buying fodder or feed. This is something that we will be doing with Rosrybolovstva next year, and this product will be packaged in a ready-made solution, and maybe, just maybe, our industry, aquaculture, will not just grow, but will surprise all its neighbors by the growth rate. This is something that we really want to arrive to. Thank you very much. Thank you. This is curious and quite ambitious, I would say. And it's a great challenge for us out there. Thank you. There's only one thing that I would like to ask you. Can we... Well, for now, you hadn't yet launched that project, but can we provide it, can we give it to our neighbors outside Russia? Can we even connect it to Rossельхознадзor's system so that they can also have their own digital twins? And without doing additional manual vaxing labor, they could see whatever they needed to see. As far as Rossельхознадзor systems are concerned, of course we want to integrate with them. Of course we want to exchange analytical data with them. And of course we want to make sure that there are connectors available with the Mercury system so that we can make sure that we can trace controlled species. And of course we love to do it together with you. Now when it comes to giving something to our neighbors, this ecosystem of ours already includes colleagues from Uzbekistan. We have someone from Belarus. It means that the system is open. You can come and join, of We can't digitize their own regulatory specifics, because for now we're just digitizing everything that's available in Russia, but gradually and slowly we'll come there, because all systems are trans-border. I mean, they don't know any borders. What we need is an interface, a localized interface. Everything else is here for you. Just come and get it. Thank you. And there was an important question asked regarding the measures of state support, whether the state is willing to do something. Rosrybolovstvo and our state in general wants to render a helping hand to small and medium enterprises. But you know that it's the big business who knows how to use the support measures best of all. The federal support measures are there, but when it comes to regional helping hands, they're all very different. Now I'd like to give the floor to Mikhail Glaskov, who is Deputy Governor of Vologda region, and there, in Vologda, we have the largest closed circle RAS projects. So tell us more about it. Hello, dear Chairperson. Aquaculture in Vologda region is a strategic area of business. And starting from 2014, a very special attention is given to it. Because of this, we managed to grow our output by 12 times. And in 2020, we've produced 1,093 tons of fish. Of course, it's a low base effect, and of course, our figures might not be as impressive as our colleagues have in Leningrad region and Karelia. But considering our morphometric, hydrological, and geographical circumstances, we believe we're still doing a great job. Because the majority of natural lakes we have are of a glacier origin, where the depth is just 3 to 5 meters. 15 companies have already started growing their fish, and 15 more just registered recently, and they're ready to start what needs to be started very soon. We have some fishing spots in our water bodies where industrial farming takes place, and there's also a number of land plots or water plots available for bigger scale productions. So the most, or some areas for the best potential, considering our climatic circumstances, it's quite hot for cold-loving fishes and it's quite cold for warm-loving fishes. We believe that intensive industrial fishing farms are the best, with closed circle water supply systems, or RASs. And in March 2023, here in the Vologda region, we've launched a hatchling workshop, and very soon there will be a plant that produces 2,500 tons of industrial-grade fish. 21 hectares is being taken for it. The investments will be at 4.5 billion ruble. And as far as new jobs are concerned, we're offering about 30 new jobs will be created this way. What kind of support measures are available? Well, both federal-level support measures. It's not the Ministry of Agriculture that invests in there. It's the Ministry of Economic Development and the Ministry of Finance that does it. And basically the way they do it is they pay out some of the budgetary loans, and the loans that are recovered this way can be then put into infrastructure, design work, the expert review of the design documents. This company that I've been talking about, Aquaculture, now used the opportunities offered, and they've put in the loans that they have recovered into the road infrastructure, and they have already invested around 800 million rubles.
Now talking about the participation in the state support measures. There are provisions made to give support since 2018. Annually, we provide subsidies to compensate the expenses for equipment for construction and refurbishment of the infrastructure and for the production of the commercial fish. And our companies since 2018 have received more than 70 million rubles, and there will be 45 millions allocated in 2023. And of course, colleagues, the most substantial support is given to the enterprises that have green projects in the areas where there are no water bodies, or water bodies are not good enough for installation of pens. And the target is 10,000 tons of aquaculture products. 6,000 tons are to be farmed in the pens, and 4,000 tons is the potential of the companies operating RAS. We believe the most successful will be the RAS. And it refers not only to our region, Vologda, but the rest of this country as well. And there is some tension in the regions against the allocation of the aquaculture projects and at the water bodies. Then RAS is quite lucrative. So that's why the industrial production based on the intensive farming will be given priority. So priority will be given to RAS. That's about it. Thank you. One short question. So subsidies to feed production and implementing it on the digital platform. Are you considering this particular measure for subsidies? We are flexible as far as interacting with the business, and we are talking about the possible supports. At the moment, we give support to construction and procurement of equipment. But why not? In 2025, we can do that because the budget for 24 is already set. Okay. Constructing first and then helping to do the farming. There are major projects, and we have a representative of Rossельhoz Bank, Mr. Solodukhin. And so, do you consider big business only, large business, or could the SME receive good conditions for funds? Yes, SME could get good conditions for financing. Any enterprise can do that. SME can have good prospects to become a large business, and we will be interacting with them as with the representatives of the big business. It's not the scale that is important for us, but the efficiency, and we are looking forward for what could happen what are the prospects of 10 years and what role will be played by the enterprise in the particular industry. Aquaculture for us is one of the priorities. We perceive it as a driver of the development of the agricultural sector, for it is possible to scale up the business and not only to increase the internal profitability of the fleet and processing facilities, but the catch will be at the level of the same 5 million tons. In the aquaculture, though, there is a growth in volumes and when there is a new construction taking place, whether it is pasture pens or RAS, and it is the business for us that will be scaled up, which has prospects for growing, attracting investments, and providing the food products to the customers, and we believe that it will be profitable, and it will be profitable for the regions as well. And the regions, the authorities that are investing into the aquaculture will receive payback as taxes, and the money spent by the purchasers, by the customers, so the money will be back to the authorities. So the aquaculture produce in Russia is up to 400,000 tons at the moment, but it is not more than 8% of the volume that the fishery industry has on the offer. Taking into account the global experience, we assess that the industry has good prospects for development. Aquaculture is interesting in terms that its developments provides prospects for the development of the other industries. Specialists are needed, R&D is needed to make it intensive, and there is a high demand for equipment, for hardware. There is a demand to substitute imported feeds, seedings, etc. So the prospects, the investment prospects for the next couple of years are some 70, 80 billion rubles for the construction of green field projects and also the support infrastructure producing feeds, fodder, etc. And so there are all the possibilities to develop the production of feeds and seedings. Aquaculture enterprises are part of the agricultural business, and they can count on all the support measures from Decree 1528. So they can get money for the refurbishment of the hatcheries, nurseries, hardware for the production of feeds, and they can get loans for 1 year to buy feeds, to ensure the production, to buy seedings. Thanks to the Decree 1611, 20% of the expenses for the construction of the infrastructure are compensated. So we are prepared to provide the subsidies and to provide the funding for the enterprises that are either in the business already or planning to enter the business. So we will give lucrative financial conditions and terms for the manufacturers. The bank is prepared to give loans, but we can provide services. We have the whole ecosystem, which is composed of the farmers, fish farmers as well. We are prepared to assist in training human resources. We have a fish web platform, which is very useful for the aquaculture. So we are prepared for funding the industry. Short question. Yesterday, I had a discussion with the members of the foreign delegations, 3 of them, and so we have discussed the prospects of foreign investments into the Russian aquaculture. So one of the questions asked was regarding the whole industry. What about the aquaculture? Do you see the possibilities of giving support to the businesses that will be planning any project somewhere, say, in Africa? There are some additional risks associated with the overseas operations versus the domestic projects, but why not? We can review that kind of projects, and I can already foresee the conditions that kind of projects will be interesting for our bank. If the Russian companies are planning to develop the business overseas, or the products will be imported to Russia, then why not? Okay, we'll include you into the board to support the overseas Russian businesses. There was a reference made to subsidies for insuring business. It's actually a painstaking effort because for the time being, not that many enterprises insure their business, and mostly it is the industrial enterprises. But this issue is high on the agenda. I would like to give a floor to Mr. Kornei Dezhdo, and he is the president of the Union of the Insurers in the Agricultural Industry. So, how about ensuring aquaculture and whether these approaches could be used in the other countries? Thank you. Thanks for the invitation to have my talk on behalf of my community. I would like to greet all the participants of the forum. Our participation is very important. It is a possibility to establish a dialogue to find the solutions that will be lucrative for the agricultural producers. Pressed for time, I will just give you the bullet points. I will tell you about the insurance systems involving state support. Shown over here are the payments made to the agricultural enterprises started from 2020, and some 3 billion rubles the insurers of our union have paid to the agricultural companies in Stavropol. And last week we have settled the losses of the disease of pigs, and so the insurance was paid. So we paid to the agricultural companies in Pskov and Omsk because of the avian flu. And as far as aquaculture is concerned, I will talk about it a bit later. So the agricultural sector insurance have been developing in the world for more than 40 years. The payments are 40 billion USD, and 200 millions have been paid to the aquaculture enterprises. So that kind of insurance is more or less is considered to be more or less new, though the insurance started in the 70s, but the impetus was given to it in the noughties of the 21st century. You can see the breakdown of by years, and some 5,000 50,000 hectares of aqua farms were insured. Insurance is developed in China quite a lot. You remember when there were amendments introduced into the federal law for the producer of aquacultural products, aquatic products, had a possibility to have their business insurers taken into account a lot of investment. The figures on investing are quite impressive, so they should be secured, protected, and the only way to secure it is aqua business insurance. trying to rush to be able to tell everything that I meant. So, of course, there are some hazardous factors and the purity of the total loss. And it happens in aquaculture more often than in the other agricultural businesses. So another hazard, another risk is the shortage of reliable statistics. To assess the risk properly and to give a price for the insurance, for the premium, we lack statistics to have underwriting, to have actuary calculations. And there are other risks as well. We have a shortage of the expert specialists that might interact with us to prepare to make ready the insurance products. Here is the statistics. It is not in tons, but in the thousands of conditional capital. The dynamics is positive. It's not a considerable segment of agricultural insurance on the whole, but we can see that the demand for insurance is growing. And so the contracts are concluded both with the help of the state support, and there are some enterprises that would like to have a higher coverage, covering more risk. So state should give support in this case. So the volume of insurance was 308 million rubles. The total volume in the agricultural business is 11 billion. So, leaders are the Republic of Karelia, Leningrad region, Murmansk, Vologda, and Astrakhan regions, and the payments insurance payments exceed 60 million rubles annually. The active leaders of the insurance of our union are RSB Insurance and the others. So what are the exact figures that the agricultural enterprises receive? Ruskaya More entity received the payment of 229 million rubles in the Republic of Karelia. In Astrakhan, as a result of the death of the Russian sturgeon, the enterprise Raskat received 58 millions, and in Krasnoyarsk, as a result of the loss of rainbow trout and Yenisei sturgeon, they received 80 million rubles. These are the largest payments. It is an indication that aquaculture insurance system does work, and our task is to enhance the list, to broaden the list of the insurance cases. The risks indicated over here, and infectious diseases is the major risk, and we do need to understand how the regulators view the conditions. That's the information from the regulator. Another point that I would like to emphasize, that these are the possible franchise. It could be between 0 and 30% of the premium to make the insurance cheaper, and the other possibilities. Colleagues, to conclude, I would like to state the following. In the beginning of my talk, I mentioned how important the cooperation with the industrial agencies is to kick off the development of the aquaculture insurance. So that's why it's necessary to keep interacting in the same manner when we did when making amendments into the federal law. We should have a special task force for us to jointly with your experts and specialists from the Ministry of Agriculture to develop new insurance products that would meet the interests of the agricultural businesses.
Thank you very much, and I believe this is a very good proposal. And in the end of our forum, we will establish a working group like this. We have representatives of the business that's come forward with the same proposal, but from a different perspective, from a different standpoint. Thank you. As you can see, lots of things are growing and developing in our country. But why this forum is so good? Because it's an opportunity to exchange experience with other countries. And many states have their own success. And I'd like to give the floor, and it was a revelation for me. Like Ilya said that Amman impressed him so much. Yesterday, I met with Ibrahim Al-Azrani, who is the director for aquaculture from Saudi Arabia, and was really impressed how strongly this country has gone forward in this particular topic, considering that they don't have plenty of water bodies. How did it work out for you, and what will be your further development? So what's your take on that? Thank you. All the peace to you and God's blessing. Dear colleagues, on behalf of the Ministry of Natural Environment, I'd like to thank the Russian Fishing and Aquaculture Agency for the hospitality. Today, the world clearly faces difficulties in terms of food supplies and the reduction of water resources because of several factors, many of which are quite important. Considering the importance of protecting the water resources and considering the need to increase the productivity of agriculture, our kingdom in the recent years have been working on ensuring a sustainable growth of agricultural sector. With this reason in mind, a comprehensive strategy has been adopted to protect food resources and to ensure that we will be using them in the most efficient way so that the living conditions of our people are enhanced. The pillars for the strategy are sustainable growth of natural resources, growing marketing and agricultural resources in private sector, the support to sustainable farming and new jobs. Aquaculture sector gets a huge support of our enlightened leadership, and it was included as part of the Vision 2030 of the Kingdom, which was launched by our Prime Minister, His Royal Highness Prince Mohammed bin Salman Al Saud. Now let me familiarize you with some of those achievements that we've managed to obtain. Can we have the previous slide? The previous one. Where we had the production volumes. Today we produce 120,000 tons. Last year we produced 100,000 tons. By 2030, we are planning to get to 600,000 tons of aquaculture purely. We want 540,000 tons to be produced from aqua farms and aquaculture companies, and 60,000 were produced from fish catching. You know that we have 2 seas, but the amount of fish, the volume of fish is limited in natural conditions. That's why we want to put a cap on those 70,000 tons, and we want to continue growing our aquaculture until 2030 in order to get to 530,000 tons by 2030. 120,000 tons of volumes that we produce today, where are we getting them from? 50%? Let's divide that into several parts. We have aquaculture from freshwater and we have aquaculture from seawater. As far as seawater is concerned, 50,000 shrimps, tons of shrimps are being produced. And the second part, or the second species, 30,000 tons, is just fish. We are self-sufficient in terms of shrimps in the kingdom. However, we only got to 50% self-sufficiency in fish. And this gap needs to be closed. Next slide, please. Where the products that I'm talking about are coming from. We have aquaculture plants along the seashores of the Red Sea. That's where the shrimps are being farmed. Also in the north, there is a number of factories that are fish producing. In 2016, we produced just 2 types of products, which is sea bream and fish, and shrimps. Now we have 10 different varieties, and we produce more than 10 different varieties. Sea bream, sea bass, the European species, and some of them can be observed in here. And the Asian sea bass, of course. In order to get to a self-sufficiency level, our aquaculture firms are doing their best to get to the necessary numbers. But we also have our own catching and fishing capacities. 60–70% of all our territory is the desert. And people who live in there, they never have access to seafood. Therefore, last year we've been consuming 12 kg per capita, which is less than a half of global consumption. By 2030, we want to get to 20 kg per capita of fish consumption. Where will those numbers be coming from? Well, they will come from developing our aquaculture and developing our fishing capabilities. Now, take that average person in the country. We still need to sell fish to them, and in order to do it, we need to hold a lot of PR campaigns. We also had our own awareness-raising campaigns in schools. We have our tasting events and festivals. We had websites and many other things that were aimed at improving the consumption culture. Another awareness campaign was aimed at means of preparing and cooking fish. 70% of all the fish is being sold in whole. Now we are looking into Russian technologies for processing fish, because what I saw is that many companies in Russia, they know very well of gaining added value from the fish they sell. We don't have that. We don't have fish products with high value added. And this is something that we're looking into. This is something where we can invest into. This is something that we can start passing technologies to, and that's where we can start exchanging experience on. And I also would like to call on you to come to see us in Saudi Arabia next February, during which we will be holding a 3rd international exhibition where you will find more opportunities for investment. Any information can be made available to you. We have our own website. It's a website of the International Fair. We spoke a lot about aquaculture development. How did we manage to stimulate and incentivize our fishermen and our farmers? We are located conveniently on the Red Sea, and we had to invest a lot into a mapping exercise of our seashores of the Red Sea. Because if there's a private investor who wants to come and do something about those farms, they will have to spend a lot of resources surveying the areas. That's why websites are available for them. A lot of research has been made of the surrounding environment where farms can be placed. What we also invested into, we looked into the species that inhabit the Red Sea. On the north of the country, the water temperature can get to 27 degrees centigrade. In the south, it can get up to 30 and even more. And as you know, such temperature variety can be suitable for only specific types of fishes. We can also take the fish from the North Seas and start harvesting them and start farming them in the north part of the Red Sea. But in order to get to those tonnage levels I've outlined, we might require up to $5 billion of investments. That's why we cannot do it all alone. There's a number of steps we still need to take. While we're speaking in here, we are already doing a lot to streamline and simplify investment procedures for private investors. And in the future, in November, we'll be participating in an investment forum in China, where we will be talking a lot about aquaculture development. In the end, what I would like to say that in the last 3 years, we've been speaking a lot about aquaculture development in the kingdom. Of course, fish and shrimps is something that we're looking into quite intensively. We're looking into producing algae and seaweed. I found a number of companies in here that process algae a lot and who know how to put them to good use. They can be a source of technologies for us. Can I have my last slide, please, on the screen? Out of the support measures that we render, we've established a regional center for agriculture, a regional center of excellence for agriculture. So that regional competence center for aquaculture So the regional center has been established by our kingdom. So the Regional Aquaculture Center of Excellence will cost $150 million. And it has 5 parts to it. There, in this center, we will have a special hatching territory. There's going to be a shrimp production center. We'll also have an algae research facility, and we will also have an educational building for our university students. What we offer to our companies today we are open for cooperation if you are interested in designing the center. I will also have to speak a few words about the biosecurity program because we're quite busy researching that area. Biosecurity is something that we need to apply to all sectors of our agriculture. And of course, in fish farming, it's an important component. We have plenty of projects that aim at improving our biosecurity. In the nearest future, you will see some tangible success. And I'm very thankful to you for your attention. Thank you. I'm really sorry you hadn't been yesterday during our roundtable on improving consumption of fish, because you've mentioned a number of interesting points, and something that you spoke about we also mentioned back then and back there. Your ambitions and your plans are, well, enormous. This is something that we want to achieve in Russia. Well, you're speaking about 600, we're speaking about 700. The figures are compatible. In our case, you have the desert, we don't have the desert. Maybe we need to adjust our plans because you're already aiming quite high. Now it gives me pleasure to give the floor to Mehdi Shikuri. Yesterday, we've discussed at the plenary that Iran has made a significant leap forward in terms of aquaculture. We are still importing only a few numbers of feedstocks, but then the cooperation is possible. Mehdi, the floor is now yours. Thank you very much, dear colleagues. Thank you. I'm really happy that we've been invited on this forum by Rosrybolovstvo. And as far as I can see, here we have a lot of future fish farmers and future partners in terms of fish growing. Well, at least I see a lot of young faces, young boys and girls sitting in the room. I'm just listening to the translator, that's why I'm a little bit delaying my speech here.
Had a highest growth rate compared to other agriculture sectors, subsectors. Until the beginning of the third millennium, I mean that some 20 years ago, it was the fastest growth in the world in the agriculture subsector, but now it has decreased, and it is less than 3% per year. The FAO has estimated that the growth rate will increase up to 15% up to 2030. But now the expert says that it will not reach to this point, and there will be many obstacles that reduce the growth rate. Our friends has pointed some of these obstacles like disease and biosecurity and like this, and we can add more pointers like the desert and the dry weather and something like this that we are facing in my country and Saudi Arabia and the Persian Gulf areas country. Anyway, I invited to this forum, but I didn't know what I have to speak about. In introduction of the forum, I saw that it refers to intensification and the use of the better use of the environment for production of the fish. So I decided just to say something about the necessity of intensification and going toward the more intense fish farm in our countries. I would like to tell you some, just a short story about my country. Some 60 years ago, we was developing aquaculture. Now we produce about 600,000 tons of fish and shrimp. So some 60 years ago, we decided to go to closed system farm. We imported some package system from the well-known companies around the world from the Europe, but we failed to operate this system. 10 years later, we decided to produce this system to our country. We produced some recycling system, ROS system, to produce trout, but unfortunately we failed again. The reason was some lack of knowledge. Our farm manager didn't know about the managing of the ROS system or semi-closed system or intense fish farming in their farms. By the way, we haven't the food in good quality, suitable food for the intensive farming. And also we hadn't good equipment. It was not efficient very well. So we left this system again and forgot it for some 20 years. And then we found that we have to go there to intensifying again. It was because of the biosecurity that my friend Al-Zahrani said about that. The biosecurity is not a new terms in aquaculture, but I think that in last decade we look at it as something, not a luxury thing. It is something necessary for aquaculture. So in my country we decided to look again about the intensification and production of the fish and shrimp in closed system or semi-closed system. Then we looked for the technology. Fortunately, I think that you agree with me that the technology has improved very well in the various fields of science, including the hydrodynamic, and including the mechanic, physics, even chemistry. They can help aquaculture because the aquaculture use all the sciences to produce fish. So we decided to go to intensification of the farms. And now we produce trout in our semi-closed system. Some 30 years ago, we used 10 liters of water to produce only 1 ton of trout, but now use only 2 liters of water to produce 1 ton. It shows that the knowledge of our the various community is able to use better use of water to produce the fish and shrimp, and we can go further if we want. I would like to tell you another story about our shrimp farming. We started shrimp farming with the Saudi Arabia at the same time. I think it was 1870 that both countries decided to grow shrimp in the desert. It was the arid area, no trees, no fresh water, and only sand. We have the same climate and same topography in many parts of our countries. But we both decided to go for shrimp farming, and then we started development of the shrimp. We reached to the good point. We produce, I think both countries reached to around 20,000 tons per year, but we both failed again. Sorry, I tell you your story again. It was because of the disease. And now we are at the same point. My country is suffering from the disease again, a new disease. ISHN, it's a new disease. It's just a bacteria that can make many changes in our farm and lose our money. We decided, the government has decided to promote shrimp farming closed system. I think that this Russia and maybe some our guests here in this room are developing aquaculture in their country or targeting to develop it. I would like to share my country experience to you that if you would like to go for aquaculture, you had to pay more attention to closed or semi-closed system. Disease maybe is one problem, and also the environment and the pollution, pollutant that can make severe impact on environment should be considered when we are developing aquaculture, because many countries produce fish for export. In case of my country, Europe is our major target market. And the Europeans are developing their standard. They won't like to import fish or shrimp which has harmed and impacted the environment. They are upgrading their standard. I think that some years later we cannot export our shrimp or fish to the European countries because they have improved their standard, and we cannot reach to that standard, the environmental standard or the animal welfare standard, that it will cause our country or maybe the other countries to fail to export to this European market. It was just a short story that I think that could be useful for all of us. Maybe you have the same story in your country, but I just decided to tell you a story about my country. So if you would like to talk about this point, I'm available. I would like also to invite all of you to the fisheries exhibition that will be held on about 2 months later in Tehran, to be familiar with the Iranian fisheries industry. Thank you very much.
Спасибо большое. На самом
Thank you. Indeed, there are many things to get acquainted to, and we are thankful to our friends and partners for sharing their information and the experience that they have gained in the past 10 years. We are slightly behind the schedule, but I would like to give floor to the representative of the two friends who are old friends of us, and we are developing partnership relationship with these two countries, or rather we have a rapprochement of the relations. Not that much progress made in the partnership with respect to the aquaculture, but still I would like to give floor to the representative of Kazakhstan, Mr. Ulinasov. The floor is yours. Good afternoon, dear participants of the conference. I will try to be brief, succinct. First, I would like to thank the organizers for the opportunity to talk about the development of the aquaculture in Kazakhstan. And this is a great experience for the development of the good economic space. I would like to show the balance of the market, of the development of the fish farming and capture fishing. The figures are at the slide. In April 2021, the government of the Republic adopted the program for the development of the industry for 2030. One of the goals of the program is to set up the conditions for the development of the aquaculture. By 2030, as a result of the state support, the volume farmed 270,000 tons per year, to have higher internal consumption and have less import from 40 to 25,000 tons, to create new jobs in the sector. The important factor of the development of the industry is subsidies at the initial phase and tax breaks. There are subsidies provided. They're shown in two areas. One are investment subsidies. At present, 25% of the expenses will be subsidies. The expenses to cover the procurement of the equipment and the construction of the infrastructure related to all the aquaculture processes, whether it is PENS or RAS. 50% subsidies are used for acquisition of the gene pools, selection, row, seedings, and acquisition of medicinal drugs. Special tax breaks will be provided, and some taxes have been reduced by 70%. Land plots are allocated at special economic zones that have special taxation regimes. Thanks to these measures, there is more active business activity. Versus 2020, the number of the farms have grown by a factor of 2. The farmed fish volume has increased by 7 times. Today, 21 investment project is being implemented. It is shown at this slide. After the program is completed by 2030, more than 1,000 farms will be established. As is known, success depends on the provision of the seedings. Feed. At present, there are 2 companies producing feed, but they target carp species primarily, and we have 100% coverage with respect to feeding carp. And as far as sturgeon and salmon, trout, for example, then 100% of feeds for those species are imported. I would like to note that there are specific efforts undertaken in Karaganda economic zone, and there is a facility to produce feed is ongoing over there, and we are negotiation with Danish and the other foreign companies to construct the facilities. Veterinary and sanitary safety of the produced outputs measures are taken, and there was reference made to the necessity to do that. And I should mention that the aquaculture is at the initial stage in Kazakhstan. That's why we follow the suit of the leaders, and security and safety is one of the important things in aquaculture. To ensure the safety, we initiated interaction with the international experts, WOAH, that assessed the safety of fish in Kazakhstan. They visited the laboratories, higher educational establishments, training ichthyologists and farms, and the specific recommendations have been given related to the status of the veterinary service. A set of measures is being developed now to implement the recommendations of the experts of WOAH. In 2021, there was a fish cap document signed with the FAO, and the fish farmers were trained together with the FAO. We have the implementation of the innovation project in aquaculture sector, taking into account the climate change and deficiency shortage of water. And there are some other international projects. One is with the UNDP. The slide shows our efforts related to the gene pool of the species, And the plans are as follows. First of all, everyone is aware that legislature is needed to achieve progress. We have developed a draft law on aquaculture, and it is being reviewed by the government in November 2023. It will be sent for the approval of the Parliament of Kazakhstan. There will be 4 new types of subsidies to achieve progress, and it will be different types. One is drilling water wells, and the plans are to allocate water plots for the farmers. Besides, we believe that innovation projects will be supported by the scientific services, and it is important for the industry while it is at the initial phase of development. In conclusion, I would like to thank the organizers and express our readiness for comprehensive cooperation within the framework of the unified economic space. Thank you. Indeed, you take into account all the hiccups that we had in Russia since 2014, and we are prepared to share the information for you to avoid the obstacles and the troubles that we had. And it was quite unexpected for me to realize what progress was made in the country, which is not on the face of it meant for aquaculture. It is Uzbekistan, and I would like to give the floor to Mr. Musayev from Uzbekistan. Thank you, dear participants of the forum. I'm from Association of the Fish Farmers of Uzbekistan. I would like to thank the organizers for the invitation to such an important happening. And I would like to talk about the progress made in aquaculture industry. Uzbekistan is not a favorable area as far as climate is concerned, and it is similar to the experience of the Central Asia, the problem of the Aral Sea, drought, and other things force us to make use the technologies that will be instrumental in the efficient use of the water resources. So a decision was made in Uzbekistan is to develop the efficient aquaculture and fish farming. One of the priorities is using new technologies, intensive fish farming. Those that are used in the Southeast Asia, Europe, and the Russian Federation. When these intensive technologies are used, then the harvest is higher, and of course the high quality feed used for farming affect the high quality of the fish. And we grow rainbow trout, the other species of trout, and as well as salmon trout, and we use imported feed for that. When When the other fish is farmed, we use the local feed from Iran as well. We are interested in fruitful cooperation with the other countries because the requirements of Rossельхознадзор regulator from Russia and the other countries getting more stringent. That's why our priority is to have higher quality of the fish. We add vitamins to the fish feed, and it is good for the health of the citizens of our country. Great importance is placed to farming fish that was not produced before. Right now, we farm such fish, such species as tilapia, sturgeon, Siberian sturgeon. We are interested in the technologies of farming shrimps. That's why we addressed the experts from the foreign countries to attract investments for farming shrimp. And I am aware that China and the other countries of Southeast Asia are very successful with farming shrimps. That's why we invite investors from these countries to reproduce their success. So we have a wide range for the development in Uzbekistan. We have broken it down into stages. We have developed a strategy where we understand what should be done, taking into account the climatic challenges and human-caused factors. But we take all those things into consideration. I would like to discuss the issues of cooperation not only within the framework of the Eurasian Economic Community, because Uzbekistan is not a member state, but we would like to share experience and to gain experience and skills from the Eurasian Economic Community member states. We pay attention to training human resources, personnel. We cooperate with the branch of the Astrakhan Agricultural University, and the president of the university and his colleagues provide a helping hand to us.
For example, in designing our staffing policy, which is extremely important for fish farming and aquaculture. All the founders of this branch need to be made aware that we are approaching it very seriously. There is a number of issues we still have to resolve, both from our own side and from the side of the Russian Federation. One just need to be aware of those issues, and certain solutions are still required. I've been very brief outlining you our industrial farming. But apart from that, we also have a household fish farming, which is a very taxing work. People from Iran have a great experience of doing this. China has an amazing experience of doing this, but this is something that one needs to continue doing, because 36 million people reside in the country, and 600,000 plus is what we get on an annual basis. Therefore, I think Central Asia is a country with an enormous amount of population. And one needs to constantly search for new ways of doing it. Where to get protein from, not just cattle breeding, but fish farming is something that we believe can come and help us. I'm really thankful to you for participation. This is my brief outline of the industry in our country. Thank you very much. On our own behalf, we are ready for a dialogue, and we hope we will continue doing so, both here in the forum's venues and later on. Truly, the problems are similar for all of us in here, and we must share our solutions. Unfortunately, I've already exhausted the time given to me for the concluding remarks. Therefore, it just remains for me to say thank you, dear speakers, thank you, dear participants, and let me wish all of us all the best. But first and foremost, let me say this. Now, world is getting divided, but when it comes to aquaculture, there we must unite, because aquaculture is the most promising area for the future. Thank you so very much for coming, and see you all next time. Bye-bye.